America. When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. To secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute a new government, laying its foundation on such principles as organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence, indeed, we dictate that governments long established should not be changed for the light and transient causes, and accordingly all experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same objective, evidences a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security, such as has been patent sufferance of these colonies, and such is now the necessity which constrains them to the alter their former system of government. The history of this present King of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having direct object to the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states. To provide this, let facts be submitted to a candid world.
He has refused his assent to laws, the most wholesome and necessary for the public good. He has forbidden his governors to pass laws of immediate and pressing importance, unless suspended in their own operation until his assent should be obtained. And when suspended, he has utterly neglected to attend to them. He has refused to pass other laws for the accommodation of large districts of people, unless those people should relinquish the right of representation in legislature. A right detestable to them and formidable to tyrants only. He has called together legislative bodies at places unusual, uncomfortable, and distant from the depository of their power, for the sole purpose of fatiguing them and into compliance for their measures. He has dissolved representative houses repeatedly, and for opposing the manly firmness his invasions of the rights of the people. He has refused for a long time, after such dissolutions, to cause others to be elected, whereby the legislative powers, incapable of annihilation, have returned to the people at large for their exercise, the state remaining in the meantime exposed to all the dangers of invasion from without and convulsions from within. He has endeavored to prevent the population of these states, for that purpose obstructing the laws for naturalization of foreigners, refusing to pass others to encourage their migration hither, and raising the conditions for the new appropriations of land. He has obstructed the administration of justice by refusing to give consent to law for establishing judiciary power. He has made judges dependent on his will alone for the tenure of their offices and the amount of payment of their salaries. He has erected a multitude of new offices and sent hither swarms of officers to harass our people and to eat of our substance. He has kept among us in times of peace standing armies without the consent of legislature. He has effected to render the military independent of the superior to the civil power. He has combined others to subject us to jurisdictions foreign to our Constitution and acknowledged by our laws, giving his assent to their acts of pretended legislation, for quartering large bodies of armed troops among us.
For protecting them by a mock trial for punishment for any murders which they should commit on the inhabitants of these states, for cutting off our trade with all parts of the world, for imposing taxes on us without consent, for depriving us of many cases of the benefits of trial by jury, for transporting us to seas to be tried for pretended offenses, for abolishing the free system of English laws in a neighboring province, established therein by the arbitrary government, and enlarging its boundaries so as to render it once an example and fit instrument for introducing the same absolute rule into these colonies, for taking away our charters, abolishing our most valuable laws, and alternating fundamentally the forms of our government, for suspending our legislatures and declaring them invested with power and legislate for us all cases whatsoever. He has abdicated government here. By declaring us out of his protection and waging war against us. He has plundered our seas, ravaged our coasts, burnt our towns, and destroyed the lives of our people. He is at this time transporting large armies of foreign mercenaries to complete the works of death, desolation, and tyranny, already begun with circumstances of cruelty and perfidies scarcely paralleled in most barbarous ages and totally unworthy to head of a civilized nation. He's constrained our fellow citizens, taken captive on high seas to bear arms against their country, to become the executioners of their friends and brethren, or to fall themselves by their hands. He's excited domestic insurrections among us and has endeavored to bring on the inhabitants of our frontiers, the merciless Indian savages whose known rule of warfare is an undistinguished destruction of all ages, sexes, and conditions.
In every stage of these oppressions, we have petitioned for redress in the most humble terms. Our repeated petitions have been answered only by repeated injury. A prince whose character is thus marked by every act which may define a tyrant is unfit to be the ruler of a free people. Nor have we been wanting in attentions to our British brethren. We have warned them from time to time of attempts by their legislature to extend an unwarrantable jurisdiction over us. We have reminded them of our circumstances, of our immigration and settlement here. We have appealed to their native justice and magnanimity, and we have conjured them by the ties of our common kindred to disavow these usurpations, which would inevitably interrupt our connections and correspondence. They too have been deaf to the voice of justice and consanguinity. We must therefore acquiesce in the necessity which denounces our separation, and hold them as we hold the rest of mankind, enemies in war, in peace, friends.
We, therefore, the representatives of the United States of America, in General Congress assembled, appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for the restitution of our intentions, do in the name and by authority of the good people of these colonies, solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies are, and of right ought to be, free and independent states, and that they are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved, and that as free and independent states, they have full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce, and to do all other acts and things which independent states may of right do. And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. So there, grab the papers. Don't go anywhere. Are your signers of the Declaration of Independence. Your North Carolina delegates are William Hooper, Joseph Hughes, and John Penn. I'm going to talk about in just a minute. That right there is the Declaration of Independence in whole. Most times you hear the beginning and hear the end. I wanted to read the entire thing today because it's very important. It's very important then, it's very important now, 250 years later, that we really need to look at these things. I've heard this called the ultimate breakup letter. You can laugh at that, it's funny. Because it is. It was the ultimate breakup letter. We are done with you. Could you imagine being the king and receiving this? What do you think he said? Huh? Who are these people? Who are these people to do this? Dan told me about something today where a British, did you say? A British? One of the British archivists found an original copy of the Declaration of Independence. Oops. Must have been the one that was sent to the king, don't you think? So, I'm not going to talk about what happened to the 56 signers of the Declaration. There is something going around that says all these things would happen to, large groups of them. Some of them were killed by the British. Well, I started reading further in that article, and it's like, yeah, I'm not going to get into this, because a lot of it is not exactly true. Some of them were killed. Some of them did have their plantations burned. Some of them were abused by the British. What do you think was going to happen? But these men had the fortitude. I can't say guts because my mommy and daddy always said I shouldn't say guts. The intestinal fortitude to do these things, to say these words to a power all the way across the ocean. So I leave the research to you. This happened tomorrow on the 9th of July, if you remember what Dan said earlier, which also just happens to be Joseph Hughes' birthday. Happy birthday. I'm kidding. I'm not going to make y'all sing. SAR is going to honor these Joseph Hughes along with the two other delegates from North Carolina on the 15th of July at 1 p.m. at Guilford Courthouse in Greensboro, the National Park, if you want to come out. The other two's name, I've already mentioned, John Penn and William Hooper. Both of their remains have been moved there. They actually reside there. Hughes' remains are in Pennsylvania at Christ Church Burial Ground in Philadelphia. And then on the 11th of July next week, we'll be doing a grave marking of William Hooper's original gravesite, which will be at the Hillsborough Old Town Cemetery, and that's also at 1 p.m. You're all welcome to come if you're available. I understand people have jobs, people have families, they don't want to do trips like that. We'll be doing it, but this is because North Carolina has the honor this year of hosting the 136th Congress, National Congress of the Sons of American Revolution. It moves from state to state each year. I don't even know where it's going to be now. I think it's New Orleans next year. But we are also lobbying to have it back in about 5 or 6 years. So, again, I want to thank you all for coming. We're going to fire volleys now, which is the only reason most people come. It's the only reason I'm here. This is all fluff to me. Firing the rifle, that's the big thing. So,